Hi, I'm Cressel Anderson. This is Makercise. I am super excited to have the Shaper project completed. And let's jump right in with preparation for casting the work table. I'm going to be using some of this leftover expanded polystyrene from where I insulated my garage doors, and I'm going to be using my vacuum table on the X-Carve to hold these pieces down while I run the G-code on them. I pulled the aluminum facing and plastic backing off of one of these pieces, but the other two I'm just going to see how they turn out without that extra level of preparation. And I'm just going to be securing them using this vacuum table I created. It's got a port under the bottom. I hook up my shop vac and it sucks these things down. I've got these little airsoft BBs that I can drop in those holes to keep the suction from leaking out areas of the vacuum board where this part isn't. So I'm going to get this set up. I'm going to load the G-code, run it through easel, and cut out these parts that I'll then assemble as the work table for the Shaper. One thing I didn't do is generate G-code that ran all the way down through this material, and that's because I didn't want the bits to cut into the surface of my vacuum table. So I had to trim off just a little bit with a razor, and then I got started assembling the table. I used that Super 77 adhesive that I typically use for assembling lost foam patterns. It works really well. And then I also used one of those batched out sprues that I had made up a bunch of a while back, and it's nice for efficiency not to have to make that up from scratch every single time. I mixed up the plaster of Paris in the normal fashion. I mix it to slightly thinner than peanut butter consistency and coat the entire part of the pattern, with the exception of the top of the pour cup where I want the metal to flow in. Once it dried, I sized it up against the actual Shaper to make sure it was pretty well what I was expecting. And then I took it over to the property and got set up for casting. Now I typically embed these patterns down into a flask with sand just loosely packed around it. I'll kind of use my hand and just knock the sides of the flask to get the sand to settle out. One of the things I've been doing is I scrape off the top of this sprue, the pour cup essentially, so that way it's less material for me to have to hacksaw off. But I do have to wait until it's kind of a little bit set up. It's still a little bit too liquid. Needed it to be a little bit more frozen, but it's getting there. That's probably good enough. It's just barely set up. And one of the things you'll notice is I really had to pour quickly with this pour. Once it kind of makes that initial penetration into the pattern, it really has a lot of volumetric flow that can occur pretty quickly. So that's why I really had to dump it in there once it got going. I think this is going to turn out to be a pretty good pour. We'll see how those pieces of plastic that coat the insulation material and how the aluminum backing material affected the cast part. I'm really excited to see how this turns out. After I cast the work table, I examined the various surfaces of this cast part. I didn't see any negative surface finish associated with the areas where I did not remove the facing material on the surface of the polystyrene. So I think in the future I will save myself a step and not remove that material. In fact, it may even make it a little smoother.
Now this has been a longer term project where I construct a metal shaper, and I followed the design by David Gingery, and he details this project in his book. I built the companion metal lathe here as well, and I used it extensively during completion of this shaper project. If you'd like to see the details of the metal shaper project build, I put together a playlist with all the videos in the series, and there's about 16 videos in all. If you're interested in the lathe project, I have a playlist for that project also, and it has about 17 videos.
With the work table cast, I turned my attention to making a template for drilling the holes into both the work table and the cross slide. So there's 3 fasteners that are spaced out on this template. And once I drill the holes, I can transfer the locations into the 2 parts that require matching holes. That's the work table and the cross slide. I lined up the template on the cross slide first. That means the work table side of the template faces up, and then I drilled the pilot holes into the cross slide. I used the template then on the work table and drilled the holes into that part. I flipped the work table 90 degrees, and then I used the template to form another set of 3 holes. So I just went and drilled these on the drill press. I already had these holes. Now I'm going to line up the actual cross slide with the work table. I'm going to use a drill bit, the drill bit that I used to drill this hole. That way I can clamp this into place and then match drill these holes. With the cross slide clamped into place, I drilled through holes, and this is a drill bit that's at the size of the tap I'd be using. Then I tapped the cross slide. I took the work table back over to the drill press and opened up those holes, and I believe this is an 8mm through hole, and that's appropriate for an 8mm fastener. Now, in this mounting configuration, the side that's actually facing the cross slide will ultimately become the worked surface of the shaper. And that's because this part, the work table part, gets rotated 90 degrees after I finish machining this top surface.
I really want to thank all the patrons that made this project possible, especially the cadre level patrons. You guys are really what makes a project like this possible. So thank you sincerely. If you've been following this project series, you know I live streamed the first few cuts on the shaper. And although that was a blast and really exciting, I really hadn't had an opportunity to learn the machine. And now I feel like I have a much better feel for how it operates, and I also have had an opportunity to integrate some of the great feedback that I got from you all. I resolved those problems that I had with the ratchet wheel hub and the crank block. I printed parts that allow me to insert a 5mm nut into those parts, and that way it has something stronger than just the plastic for the threads of the set screws to bite into. After I fixed those parts, I switched my attention to planing the work table. And one of the comments that I got during the live stream that I did where I took the first ever cuts on the shaper was that the tool that I was using had the wrong rake angle, and I buy that. So the comments indicated that I should try grinding my own bit, and I did that. It does seem to make a little bit of a difference. I don't know that I have it exactly dialed in, but it did make a difference. I am only planing like the front half of the table, so I've got to make some modifications to the rotating head as well as the protractor disc to allow the ram to retract farther. Then I will need to also adjust the position of the crank pin, and that affects the throw of the yoke. So that way I can get the full range of travel and plane the entire work table from front to back. Problem is right here. So I finished planing the shaper work table, and to get a decent finish, there's several things that I had to do. First, I had to slow down the advance, very slow, and I was taking fairly deep cuts, so taking smaller bites out of the material each step over seemed to help. This is a 1.5 millimeter pitch lead screw. There's about 30 teeth on this gear, and I'm going about every 2 teeth during a stroke. So you can do the math on that, or maybe I'll do the math and put it over there, but that's about how much I was advancing. I was taking a fairly deep cut, maybe almost a millimeter. It was a pretty decent cut, but I was going very slowly, and I've just got my handheld drill, battery operated drill, driving this machine right now, and that's because I don't exactly know where this machine is going to live, and so I think it makes more sense at this point to just use that. It can vary the speed, and it seems to drive the machine just fine. The last thing that I did was I did have to put some ballast out here on the front, otherwise I get some chatter. I use this fireball clamp right out on the end there, and that really, I'm happy with how it's cutting. The next step is to take off the work table, take it over to the surface plate, print it using Prussian blue oil paint. That'll give me a sense as to how flat it truly is. With that surface scraped dead flat, I will take the cross slide and I'll scrape the front face of it dead flat. Then I'll use these mounting holes to bolt it kind of rotated to where this face is against the cross slide, and I will scrape what will ultimately become the work surface for the shaper. If you'd like to get early access to projects, consider going to makercise.com/signup. I finished scraping both the work table as well as the cross slide, and I'm ready to go ahead and put them back onto the machine. I'm going to go ahead and get this assembled back up, and I'm going to plane off the actual work surface of the shaper. I've slowed it down to just one tooth, or in this case, I guess 0 teeth. Looks like it's stuck. I'll have to speed that up. I'm pretty happy with this surface finish. I've slowed it way down. I've slowed the advance down to 1 tooth, and I've got it, it could be the interface is scraped better. I also tightened up the gib adjustment screws on the vertical slideways, so I'm really happy with the surface finish. It's going slowly, but hey, that's fine. Should take about an hour and a half to plane this whole surface. I'm pretty excited to get started using this shaper for things like upgrades on the lathe, as well as a few miscellaneous other things I have in mind around the shop. If you have ideas as to what you'd like to see me make using this shaper, let me know down in the comments or send me an email. I hope this project inspires you to exercise your inner maker. Thanks for watching.